Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm starting a mini-series about defense first, defensively solid football in Football Manager, and it all started when a couple of weeks ago I saw a video by FM Projects, an interesting channel regarding Football Manager. I'm gonna leave a link in the description down below if you haven't seen him. And the guy that is doing the channel, he had a pretty solid argument that in current meta, what the Full Manager engine currently provides us as options, it's not a viable option in the long run to try and play defensive football, solid at the back. You can call it negative, but when we're saying this, think of counter, regroup, like not high press, gegenpress, and high line, being the face of your opponent, everything that is not a drop off more, basically. So when I saw his video, and he had a pretty good argument that in current meta you will not find a lot of instances where, or maybe none, where defensively solid football actually wins stuff, and I consider that a challenge. And I started working, and I started digging deep, and I started experimenting, and I started gathering the knowledge that I have accumulated over time, and I've been on a mission basically to prove him wrong. It's not been easy, and I'm not really sure that I managed to prove him wrong, because we all know this is the meta. But in this small series, short series, I'm gonna share with you my findings, my thoughts, and my ways to be better in defense. And today's video is going to be more of a discussion one, and it is going to be on the topic why there are no plug and play tactics out there that provide good solid defensive output and defense first football. So let's go. Okay, before we dive deep into it, I have to address the fact that there are tactics out there that claim they're solid defensively, but most of them do one of two things. Either hoard possession and try and just, keep possession as much as you can, because when the opponent doesn't have the ball, they're going to find it tough to score a goal. Or the other thing is press high, be in the face of your opponent, and kind of suffocate them. Don't let them build from the back, so they have to go long, and it kind of, both of them. Sometimes both of them combine together. So there are tactics. I'm not gonna share links with you. I don't wanna do this. But if you do a search in YouTube and Google, you're gonna find instances of tactics that claim that they're solid at the back, but most of the time it's a byproduct of one of those things. And I found one tactic that is not using any of those, and it claims that it's solid at the back, but my tests, in my tests, the teams that I were using conceded over 40 goals a season, and everything that I have created as a good solid at the back tactic was aiming at 30 goals, 34 or less, up to 20, 21. That's good. That's good defensive solid output during the season in the Premier League. So those, I'm sorry, they're not working. And now the question is, why? And the first and honestly the most important reason why there are no plug-and-play tactics that are solid at the back is because defending is really dependent on the quality of the personnel and the type of personnel that you're using. And while when we're talking about attack, it is not that it is very important who you're using. Of course, it matters whether it is going to be Victor Osimhen finishing your chances or a random dude in Vanarama National. But at the same time, if you have a system that is creating chances, that is putting your players in positions where you're creating good XG. So if you have 4 XG each game, you're going to score either 2 or 7. Like, it's pretty much a fact. Now, when it comes to defending, you need certain types of players to make it work. And everything, okay, 50% of the other things we're going to discuss are derivative of this. First of all, you need players that are in the physical meta, like short center halves. Not doing great. And I'm going to touch on the second reason here. Crossing in this year's engine is, I think, too effective. If you feel like I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, but I really feel that crossing and scoring from headers is too effective this year's. Therefore, you really need those center halves with good jumping reach, and maybe good heading as well. And there is another issue that your wingbacks or fullbacks are also going to be finding themselves in positions where they have to win a header or two. And usually they are not the tallest players on the pitch. And if you think about it in real life, that's why I'm not having a huge issue with this. I know that it's an issue, but I'm not having a huge issue with it. Is because, as I said, think in terms of real life. Man United with potentially Lisandro Martinez fit and playing as a left center half, and Luke Shaw beside him as a left back, and you get a cross from the byline from a left-footed player, let's say Andy Robertson, and he's aiming at, I don't know, a hypothetical team in which you have Erling Haaland, or maybe just switch it and put I don't know, Jack Grealish on the left, and he's crossing for Erling Haaland, and Erling Haaland at the far post, he's gonna be challenged by whom? Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw, and what's the result gonna be? Can you imagine? Yeah, it's gonna be a goal. It's gonna be maybe a goal. Because I had instances when I did something like this. I played versus Man City with the Manchester United side that has entirely different personnel, but when they cross it to Erling Haaland, he scored maybe hat-trick of headers in 30 minutes. And yeah, this is excessive. That is excessive. And I'm really not sure that this can happen in real life, because even if you put good crosses from the wing to Erling Haaland and you put him on his head for 30 minutes, in order for him to be able to score 3 of them, this is going to be very much an outlier. But even if you leave the physical aspect of it aside, maybe we shouldn't, there is a huge discrepancy on how your center halves, your defenders, and your DMs are going to perform depending on their attributes. And you're gonna be surprised how many attributes actually contribute to a good, solid performance at the back. Because there is a great article, a great thread on the official Football Manager forums that I'm gonna leave a link down below, and you can read a lot about these different attributes, but a quick look will show us that you need good anticipation, you need good positioning, you need good marking, you maybe need good tackling, you need great composure, and you need great teamwork and work rate, and wow, yeah. Half of the attributes are basically what is helping you have good defensive output. So, long point made short. Defending and not conceding goals is way more dependent on the individual player's attributes than I think attack is. And now that I've already touched the second point about why there are no plug-and-play tactics, because even if you put in inverted fullback on defend on one side and wingback on support on the other to create some asymmetric stuff, if you plug and play this tactic into another team, it's just not gonna work. If you put a CB on cover and you don't have the player to do the cover, it's not gonna work. If you put a regista and you have to rely on the guy and he's not there, it's not gonna work. If you even have the players to fulfill the roles that in the plug and play tactic are supposed to be providing that stability for you, you're gonna have injuries, you're gonna have players in international games, you're gonna be having players going to the Africa Cup of Nations, and eventually you're gonna be missing them. And if you are really reliant on a person, 2 or 3 even, in your defense, and any one of them is missing, you're gonna be having bad output in defense. And I told you about crossing, I touched that subject. Now the third one is, because of the personnel, you need smart rotation. And if you're not doing the rotation and resting players yourself, but you're simulating through seasons, it's very difficult to show people that your tactic is actually good at the back. And if the player, a real life person that is using your tactic, you told him that this is working great and your team should be doing well in defense. If they're not doing smart rotation and they're not resting their players, they will have key personnel missing. And that's why plug-and-play tactics in defense don't work great over a season. They're gonna work. I have created so many good defensively tactics that they work for a week to 5 months, 3 months, until Christmas, until February. And then I have a couple of key players injured, or a couple of key players that are not rotating well, or a couple of key players that are not played in the correct position because my assistant manager decides to do something weird. And yes, I can log them in, but if I do that, then they are not really being rotated out of the squad. And so it's kind of a, yeah, you never win. You never win. There's always lose when you try to simulate through a season. That's why it's difficult to give you a good plug-and-play tactic that's just gonna work for you. Another reason for plug-and-play tactics to not be great at providing great defensive output is that because when you're trying to drop off more, when you're not trying to hoard possession, when you're trying to counter, when you're trying to play a little bit more cautious, a little bit more negative football, you're probably not gonna have a lot of the ball, and you are inviting pressure. And random comes in play when you're not having possession at least half of the time. So the more possession that your opponents have, the more often you're gonna have a team that has absolutely no business trying to compete with you. Have a certain attacking midfielder that tries his luck from distance and just scores a screamer. So random, from my experience, plays a bigger role when you're trying to defend deep. And not only that, you can probably counter it by changing the mentality. But when you're simulating a tactic through a season, you often don't, not often, you don't change mentality. Mentality is fixed. And one of the main things that you can do about your defensive output in a game is be mindful of your position. Go figure. So mentality, when you fix it for the whole season, you're gonna have a lot of games. For example, I've created tactics that do absolutely wonderful versus top teams, but they lose points against bottom teams. And that is because I'm allowing them to have the ball, and we have greater talent, but we're not using it, and we're sitting back, we're like, okay, let's see what you can do, and we're trying to hit them on the counter, but they're also defending deep, and I am artificially giving them the opportunity to hurt us. And if you are going to be playing such games and you're trying to not concede goals, you will probably consider the fact that you're a top 4 team. You're a team that's considered to finish, let's say, 5th, 6th, 4th, whatever. And they're considered to be in the relegation battle. You're not going to play cautious. You're not going to give them the ball. You have better personnel. In those games, you're going to be trying to dominate them. Like, I don't think that the best Diego Simeone sides of the past, they have given the ball to opposition that is in a relegation battle, and they were like, okay, we're gonna sit at the back like if it's Real Madrid against us, and we're gonna be, I don't know, waiting for you to shoot from distance. Maybe it's gonna work out for us. No, you really need to adjust mentality and maybe formation, even the way you're playing in different games versus top level position and bottom level position when you're trying to not concede goals. Because a lot of the tactics that we create that are solid at the back, they're going to do well against top teams. They're going to struggle versus bottom teams. If you're going to lose points, it's so frustrating. It's so freaking frustrating. You do a tactic, for example, in England, it wins against Arsenal, it wins against Chelsea, it wins against Liverpool, Man City, and you start losing points to Bournemouth, Fulham, Hull City. Oh my god, you lose points against teams that you have no way losing points against them if you don't manage these games. Now, 2 final things. First one is in-game management. Like, it really matters how you enter games, what mentality you do, and if you see that the game is going your way, you can probably try and close it down. You can probably try and keep possession more. You can do changes. You can sub off attacking players with lower anticipation and lower positioning with players that are maybe not that good in terms of creativity and stuff like this. Not that flamboyant, but can actually work within your defensive system. They're gonna put in a shift for your team to keep the result as it is. Or when you're down versus a team that you can kind of get a result against them, then you can change the mentality. You can maybe press for half the game or something like this because your players are capable of it. You're building a team that is capable of doing different things. And when you're not really utilizing the best ability of your players to do different kinds of things on the pitch, depending on how the game is going, you're eventually going to lose points. And even if the tactic is great, you're not going to have great output at the end, because you would have dropped points. You will drop points in games where you should not be dropping points. And now, the last thing, set pieces. Okay, I give you the best tactic I've ever created, that is in terms of defensive output, and for me it concedes 21 goals in a single season in the Premier League. Great stuff, right? And I give it to you. And what do? You plug and play it, and you concede 40. And maybe you concede 7 from corners, 8 from corners, 10 from corners, more than me. Why? Well, because plug and play tactics do not change set pieces, and they're very, very freaking important. They're very important for you to score goals, and they're very, very important for you to not concede goals. So in order for you to have a good output as some team that is going to try to sit at the back, invite pressure, and try to hit in the counter, set pieces are becoming so much more important. Because if you have a low block that is doing the job for 70 minutes, and then you concede a freaking header from a corner, it's so disappointing. And then after kickoff, you run towards the goal, you get a corner yourself, and you cannot score it. So set pieces are a huge, huge variable when we're testing tactics. And I'm always, when I'm posting tactics on one of the sites, I always try and tell people what kind of set pieces I'm using, or what my general idea regarding set pieces is, because let's face it, they affect results way more than we want to acknowledge. And yeah, as I told you, set pieces can make or break things for you. And if you wanna get some tips on how you can be better at set pieces, maybe I'm not the person that you're gonna get them from, but I'm gonna give you some more tips on how to improve your defensive performance, the defensive performance of your teams, in the following videos. So if you want to see them, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be sharing my top 10 tips on how to be better at defending in Football Manager next time. So see ya. Bye bye.